Hello and welcome to today's video. Today doing an ink review, which I really love doing, and this is an ink that I've loved for a really long time. The ink we're looking at today is Akkerman ink number 13, Simplisties Violet. I've mentioned this ink a number of times on my channel. I've sort of shown it in pens, and I've shown it sort of like in top 5 lists and things like that, but I never got around to reviewing it, so here we are. I really enjoy Akkerman inks. I really enjoy the bottles Akkerman inks come in with this little filling reservoir on the top. It's got a marble in there, and you simply turn it upside down, and then the marble stops it from emptying, and you have this little reservoir of ink here in the top that you can fill your pen from and it doesn't matter if the ink's getting low, it's always going to be there. So let's talk about this ink. Let's show it on some different kinds of paper. So this is it on a colouring card, yeah, lovely violet purple. Let's see it. So here it is on 60 GSM Tolma River paper, the good old stock that we know and love. Had it in 2 pens, TWSBI Go Extra Fine and TWSBI Go Broad. Let's talk about it. So what are the 5 points? Well, PW Akkerman is a pen store in The Hague in the Netherlands, a very famous pen store, and these inks were released in 2010 to celebrate their 100 years of existence as a store. They released a number of sort of standard ink colours. And as I said here, third point is that it's from the standard line. They also have their Dutch Masters line and a couple of like specialty inks for people like SBRE Brown. This is one of their standard colours. I've got it here, it's named after a comedy show by Van Kooten and DB. And then I've said it's got a beautiful, distinct, functional bottle. The Akkerman inks are well known for their bottles. And these are, as I said, these are great, and they hold a good amount of ink, and they just also look great. Like on the desk, they're a lovely bottle. Okay, but we're here to talk about the ink. So here it is. You can see the swatch here with some lovely sheen coming up. You get some nice shading. It's very nice. Let's talk about the performance. So I've got a vivid mid-purple, which I think is a fair sort of way of describing this ink. It's not super bright, it's not super dark. I've said it's a nice violet with some, and it sort of, I suppose, leans slightly on the red side as opposed to the blue side of violet. It's got excellent saturation, which I really enjoy. Good performance on low-end paper, which we'll have a look at in just a second. I've got a slow dry time, so even after 20 seconds, it's still pretty wet. But these are high-quality ink, and at that point, with being the quality of the ink, it's actually decent value as well. I've got there that it's got great contrast and lovely flow. So on the page, even in the lighter shading, it's still very legible, and it feels nice in just about every pen I've had this in. Let's go to the extras. So I've said here, mid to low shade. It is a relatively saturated ink, so shading doesn't have like a huge variance. There is some sheen. You can see it there on the colouring card. You can see it here in the swatch, but also, I don't know how well it'll pick up, but particularly in the broad nib, we get little hits of it in the writing, which is really lovely. Little hits of this gold, which is great. And I've said here, no shimmer and mid-water resistance. So we lose a lot of the colour, and it does move around quite a lot, but you can keep the detail of what you've had there. And that's where I put the water there and sort of dab it up. But even where it's been, moved around, you keep the quality of the line. And here if we look at the chromatography, that's where I put the line down, and it sort of draws up a bit, but does keep that line down there, which is the more sort of pinky purple line with a lot of the darker blues being taken away. Let's look at the reverse of this page. You can see nothing has come through. Virtually even the swatch didn't come through. Nothing where the water went down. It looks great on this side. Obviously there's ghosting, that's quality of this Tolma River paper, but nothing has bled through. Let's now look at it on some lower end paper. Starting at the bottom and working our way up, this is the student notepad paper from Spyrex. Very sort of affordable low-end paper. So there's a bit of feathering, a little bit of bleed, but it's not too bad. And even on the reverse, in comparison to some of these other inks, it performs very well indeed. Not so much bleed, which I really enjoy. And that broad TWSBI Go does put down a decent amount of ink, really. Here on the 80 GSM copy paper, this is reflex copy paper, you see once again the line looks good. The colour is a little bit more muted, it's a little bit darker. There's no real sheen, but there's a tiny bit of feathering, but it's not as pronounced. And then if you look at the reverse of that page, very little has bled through there as well. Only really where we put down a larger amount has spots come through. So it performs very well indeed. And now on Rhodia, we see nice tight lines. The color looks good. There's hits of the sheen, but not too much. When we put the water down on it and just let it dry, well, most of it dry, some of it dripped away. We keep a tiny bit of the detail, enough to be able to make it out, but the ink just moves around. It's that saturation, it's that concentration of the dye in the ink that sort of rehydrates and just moves around. But the lines look good, it's nice and tight. And on the reverse, the only places it's come through is in the swatch there, where I put the water down, of course, but that does with a number of inks. But in the writing, nothing has come through, as you would expect on Rhodia paper. Time for a colour comparison now, and I'm going to show it in comparison to a few inks. But first thing to get out of the way, this is Lamy Dark Lilac. It is not a replacement for Lamy Dark Lilac. It's a very different kind of purple. I always just have to show that when I do a purple, because people ask. Then we get Octopus Fluids Aubergine, which is not too far off. The sheen is more green than gold, you know, but it's still in that violet kind of family. And then I have Monboddo's Hat here from Diamine. Once again, all showing sort of similarities, but just showing just, you know, little differences that you can get even within a sort of a fairly standard violet purple coloured ink. So how much does this ink cost? Well, it's a 60 ml bottle, as I showed. And from Akkerman, it's €19.90. So it's pretty decent value for the quality and the volume of ink you're getting. In Australia, from one retailer, it's the official Australian retailer, it's $55.95. So it is a pricier ink, and it's $30 a bottle from a US retailer. So it is a luxury ink, if you will, but you are getting a good quality ink. And I've given this 4 out of 5. It could probably stretch to 4.5 out of 5 if things like the dry time and, you know, it's a little bit more water resistance, things like that. But it's got nice performance. As you saw on the lower end paper, on the higher end paper, it always looks good, and there's very little feather and bleed. It's got great feel and color. The color's nice, it's got pop, it's got personality, good contrast. The feel on the page, it's nice flow. As I said, I've had this in many pens over the years. I worked through a couple of samples before I decided to get a bottle, and I really enjoyed it, and that's why I got the bottle, and it's one I've used quite a lot. But it is a luxury ink and at a luxury ink price. But as I said, you're getting 60 mils of ink, so a decent amount of ink. You're getting a high quality ink from a relatively boutique retailer as well. So I think you're getting decent value for the ink there. Obviously, there are cheaper brands of inks, obviously, but for what you're getting, I think this is okay value. So this was Akkerman Simplisties Violet, their number 13 ink from their standard line of inks. I hope you found this video interesting and useful. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit the notifications button if you want to stay up to date with the videos that I produce. Please feel free to get in touch using any of the platforms listed below. You can contact me on Instagram or Twitter, or drop me an email, and it's all listed down below. If you've got products you think I should be looking at, get in touch. Or if there's a way you'd like to support my channel, please get in touch. I would love to hear from you. In the meantime, enjoy your inks, enjoy writing, and I'll talk to you soon.